Change is hard, so the saying goes, and that makes sense because the parts of your brain linked to change are aligned to the parts of your brain linked to pain. Change literally hurts. And yet there is a way of creating lasting and effective change, of transforming your business that doesn't hurt. It's borrowed from the world of Agile, and we're going to call it safe experiments. You start by identifying an area of your business that isn't as you want it to be. Something that feels a bit gritty. It can be anything from how long you spend in your car, to how tidy and clean a room on one of your sites is, to a relationship with one of your team or one of your clients, or just how you do your admin. Anything. Why don't you pause the video right now and think of something that you'd like to think about as we go through the safe experiment ideas. Got one? Okay, you're ready to design and then run your first safe experiment. For a safe experiment to be effective, there are 3 elements that need to be in place. It first needs to be safe, secondly significant, and thirdly shared. Let's look at each of those 3. First of those then is safe. What we're talking about here is that the experiment you're deciding to try won't cause any issues for you or anyone else if you don't get the results that you're hoping for. So for example, imagine that you decided to just not turn up to a client meeting to see what happens. That's probably not safe. But to talk to the client beforehand about sending a deputy as an experiment, that probably is. What we're looking for here is what's the smallest experiment you can run that gives you measurable results. It could be trying something for just one day or with one shift or in one site. It could mean trying it with one person. Could be just for 1 hour. What's the smallest you can do that gives you measurable and reliable results? That's what we're looking for. The second element we talked about is for the experiment to be significant. And what that means is that the results that you get matter. I mean, you could run an experiment of deciding whether to put your milk into your cup first before the tea, or the tea before the milk. Great, that's safe. But the results don't matter, so it's not significant. Whereas if you were to, for example, change the format of your team, ask someone else to chair it, for example, just once, as an experiment, the learning could be important, and therefore that experiment is significant. We said there were 3 elements to this, and the last is shared. When you've got your results, whether they were good or bad, it's worth working out right from the start, how are you going to share that with your colleagues, your peers, your team, and your clients? Then they get to learn from your experiment and the results. They might decide they want to do the same thing and try it for themselves. Or maybe they've just learned one way not to do it. Either way, the business has got one very small amount smarter. And where this gets exciting is if you encourage your peers, your team, your colleagues, your clients to run their own experiments and share those, then the business gets a whole lot smarter surprisingly quickly. If you're familiar with the term continuous improvement, this is one way of making that happen. This is where bit by bit, surprisingly quickly, we can get smarter and smarter. And this creates considerable competitive advantage because none of our competitors are able to replicate the process of all those small experiments that have led you to create the service that you're creating. They can copy your ideas, but they can't copy the process.